Retrograde Amnesia is a member of the Greenlit Podcast Network, a coalition of creator-owned podcasts focused on video gaming, entertainment, and pop culture. Go to greenlitpodcast.com to find out about all the great shows on the network. Hey, Eric.
Hello, Chris.
Have you ever heard of podcasts?
Yes, it's a new format of audio listening.
Did you know somebody that did a podcast, a 54-episode podcast about the video game Xenogears?
I don't think that's happened in the history of this planet.
Hey, it's you.
It's me. We did it.
Yeah.
It's you too, Chris.
Yes, and we can support ourselves, or other people can support us at patreon.com/retroam. Would you like to hear some hot sounds that I recorded?
Yes.
Welcome to Retrograde Amnesia, a comprehensive podcast about Xenogears. Tonight, we run through the cold of the night as passion burns through our hearts. My name is like a shadow on the face of the moon. It's Chris. I'm ready to fight with a knife at my side. The knife's name is Eric. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Chris.
Like a proud wolf alone in the dark with eyes that watch the world, we are joined tonight by the RealNet. The RealNet is a collection of patrons, which support us on Patreon, listen to us record live, and offer us valuable feedback that will eventually be incorporated into the final product called this show.
We're also joined by the FakeNet, our post-production AI companion.
Initializing FakeNet.
I wonder if human skin has a taste.
Thank you, FakeNet, for joining us. We will not unplug you.
It does not matter because I cannot be killed.
After Xenogears is over, we're taking you to the next video game. Which, you know what? What's the next video game, Eric?
It's Chrono Cross.
It's Chrono Cross. It's going to be fun. Let's see what happens. But before we can tackle that, we have to kill God. It's time
Yes?
to kill God. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. Where do we go?
It's onward to Deus. But before we go to Deus, we have to talk about final dungeon preparations.
Okay. That's where we're going to get to this then.
Yeah, well, in the same way that doing a 54-episode podcast about a single video game is like an emotional hurdle that you have to jump over, so is preparing for the final dungeon of a Japanese RPG.
I had a bad strategy. I decided to go risky. I also forgot that this was the last dungeon where it may be beneficial to outfit more than one gear with essential material.
Yeah.
I bought 3 of those engines that have 1,000 fuel and 100 output, or whatever it was.
The Omega 1000s?
I put those on Faye, Sidon, and Billy, my team.
Oh.
And I didn't touch anyone else. I put Z charters on them. I put GNRs, as many as I can afford. I had like 3 gold by the time I finished doing all this stuff. I had no real plan. I thought, well, this is enough. These are geared toward kicking ass. Let's see how this goes.
Okay. Well,
We'll tell you how it goes when it's time for the fight.
yeah. I think Xenogears sort of dabbles in the type of dungeon design where you have to be well prepared for a long slog.
But check this out. In this video game, in this dungeon, I don't think this last dungeon, if you fight anything, it levels up in any meaningful way.
No, you're right.
Your character stats don't reflect. I ran from every battle.
Yeah, you pretty much can. I knew that fuel was a thing in this game, and fuel was precious, and I did not know if there were going to be any save points or Johnny bots or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I was prepared for the long haul. In sort of the way you have to be prepared for the long haul in a classic Final Fantasy dungeon. Like most of those are tests of endurance where you have to be prepared for the whole dungeon, not just be prepared for a single battle.
Yeah.
And it's not like Final Fantasy VII where the final dungeon is just like one little...
That's a pretty big cave. It's a pretty big descent. There's a lot of shit down there.
It's a pretty big descent, but it's not...
There's magic pots.
It's not as big as something like Final Fantasy VI where you have to take 3 parties and navigate a bunch of things and press a bunch of buttons. I thought that this one maybe had some elements of that, but we're not in a situation where we have to really manage 3 parties, but we do have the opportunity to use a lot of characters throughout the way.
Let me ask you the Mark Maron question, Chris. Who are your guys?
My guys. I'm starting off with both Faye, Saiton, and Maria.
I knew it was going to be Maria. I knew you were going to pick Maria. Chris is a big Maria fan.
But I have Billy and Emeralda on deck with the Big Joe branded high output gear.
Okay.
Because
they're your assassins.
Yes, I remember that there were some sub bosses, so I was hoping that I was going to have the opportunity to pull them into the mix at some point in time. Well, I know for a fact I did not do shit for Rico. think I maybe just forgot to upgrade Bart because I ended up not using Bart at all.
Man, Bart's your boy too.
Yeah, I know. I felt bad about it, but you know what? He has a few more moments left in this game, so whatever. Who are your guys?
Didn't I say Faye, Citan, and Billy?
You did.
Oh, yeah, those are my guys.
Okay, well, if I didn't already ask you that, then I apologize.
It's all right. I didn't use anybody else in this video game because I didn't think I would have to. Not true. Okay,
so we have to land on Deus. You can only approach Deus via the Yggdrasil. You have to fly directly into it and then press X on it, and then you fly
directly into this big metal statue.
Yeah, this big metal terraforming statue that looks like
a sculpted dove that's mutated.
Yeah, it is sort of evocative of an angel or a dove or something.
It's vaguely like scary angelic.
Yeah, it's like, let me remind you that I'm God and scary.
Yeah.
So that's the design there.
Old Testament.
You get off the Yggdrasil and you sort of land on top of Merkava, and Omen is playing on the outskirts.
Right.
Then you go into
There's like a machinery access point from part of its skin.
Yeah, there's definitely some final dungeon looking ass architecture going on here in Merkava, and it is especially pronounced once you go inside.
Yeah, it's a large shaft. It opens up and we can fall down in the shaft, and then we're inside Deus.
Yes.
Faye tells us that mapping is now complete, and there's some industrial noises from the Goliath factory.
Yes. Did you know that Faye was trying to tell us something here?
That when he says mapping is not complete, what he means is there's a fucking map on the select button.
Yeah.
Which has happened, there was one time in Solaris when there was one?
Solaris in the
sewers?
The Kislev sewers, yeah.
Yeah. So it's great that there's 3 maps in this game, and thank God there's one here for part of this dungeon.
Yeah, thanks, but I'm too stupid to realize that I could press select to do it, so I didn't get that until about halfway through.
It's like a weird segmented first floor where there's multiple rooms multiple dead ends that go into.
It's kind of shaped like a honeycomb, kind of.
Yeah, very honeycomb, very Solarian.
And you can make it through. And let's reiterate too that the architecture here, the assets here, are the same ones that we saw briefly in Merkava during the
emphysema fight.
Yeah, Ramses and
we actually bypassed that place later.
Yeah, we do, and that is exactly where we are here at this point in time. I wonder if this was going to be the dungeon for that part and there was going to be another one later.
Oh, yeah.
But who knows?
It's interesting that Faye told us that mapping was now complete because my map doesn't have an exit listed on it.
No, it doesn't. You just have to kind of hug the walls north to make it through. And there's a bunch of random battles. Well, there's a bunch of potential random battles here in this first section. And I think the enemies that you can encounter here are true for the rest of the dungeon for the most part. I have a list of them here if you'd like to speak about them.
Let's do it.
Okay, first I have listed the Wind Seraph.
Mm-hmm.
These Seraphs, these are the first times we've really seen them. I think you can encounter some of them on the outskirts, but they all sort of look like these emanations of light that take on the various shapes of gears and other forms.
Yeah.
The rest of the Seraphs are like the Fire Seraph, the Power Seraph, the Earth Seraph, and the Heal Seraph. But there's also the Eagle series gears, which I'm assuming are nanomachine-driven.
Yeah, some
gears.
Nikolai-inspired stuff that Deus is commandeered.
Yeah, so there's the gunners.
Commandeered.
The gunners, the blades, and the eagle armor. The gunners are pretty standard. The blades can puncture your fuel and your fuel tank and make your fucking fuel link, which is not very helpful in a situation.
No, that's not what you want. It's like in Speed when he stabs the bottom of the bus.
Yeah, you don't want that. The eagle armor is like this cool, bulky design. And after you've done so much damage, then sometimes it sheds the armor and becomes the Eagle Gunner.
Cool.
The Eagle Gunners do pretty good damage if you don't have any of the beam armor on. Also, the Eden.
Yes, the Eden from the battle arena.
Yes.
Which I guess is a backwards way of looking at that, but...
Now, remind me what the Eden looks like?
I think it was... from memory, I think it's the purple thing with like a tri-split cape on the back.
Oh, okay. I never ran into any of these.
I didn't either.
I just saw it listed in the FAQ.
There's also, in addition to enemies, there's a bunch of swinging laser beams that we have to awkwardly jump over and move through.
Yeah, have we had any dungeon traps since the sewers?
No, not since then that I can be aware of. Maybe in Solaris, the Solarian sewers? Because there were wasn't there stuff coming, like the...
Yeah, blades or something.
Yeah. Stuff like that. And then there's also what I like to call 90s tunnels.
Yeah.
Even though there was one in Bayonetta somewhat recently where you fall down these tunnels and then you have to you only have... basically x-axis control, but you have to manipulate yourself, or x and y-axis control. You have to manipulate yourself to not fall in the laser path as you're going through this tunnel.
Yeah.
Almost like a tunnel shooter.
It's kind of like a Star Fox mini game.
Yeah, but from a different from like a top-down perspective as opposed to behind.
Yeah, the first one of those comes as soon as you get through this sort of initial honeycomb maze. and you jump down and you dodge all those. I was an expert gamer, by the way. I did not get damaged once.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
MLG.
Yeah, no trophy, though. We're not there yet.
There is a trophy for that in Bayonetta if you make it through that tunnel without getting hit.
Once we go down that first corridor, Omen is playing, and now we're in the real shit.
A lot of this, is Omen playing the whole time, or is this dungeon largely silent?
It's Omen in this next portion with the elevators, and it's silent, I think, in the side corridors.
Okay.
It kind of goes back and forth. And this next area is...
Sucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, let's not bury the lead. This next area sucks.
It's a mixture of flipping switches on 2 separate levels to rotate paths, then pass through underground portions to pop out in different areas of the main level.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
It's confusing for no reason.
Yes. You can press select and kind of see how these nodes have elevators. You can go up or down, and occasionally you can grant access to the 2.
It's pretty linear despite being not linear, so it could be worse, but it's just boring.
Yeah, it could be much worse, and there's no unless maybe if you're smarter than us, you can do this, but there's not a great way to intuit what you're supposed to do here.
That's the word I was going to use, intuit. You just have to kind of fumble around and hope you're pushing the right switch that rotates the right platform.
Exactly. There are 4 switches on these nodes. 2 of them are rotating bridges, and 2 of them are permanent path switchers. And in order to get through this area, you have to press the 2 permanent shifters, for lack of a better term.
To permanently alter the thing.
Yeah, and then get through the final area. But there's never an indication of where the final area is.
Yeah.
When you first drop down, the party will comment and say, hey, there's a giant gate that we can jump down, but there's not a clear idea of how to get there. There is a free gear repair dude, though. Did you find him?
There's a Johnny bot?
Yeah, he just says, hey, man, I'll repair you, and then you get all your fuel and HP back.
I didn't actually find that one.
Oh.
My ideal, my Eric solution to fix this wouldn't have made it any better, but it would have made it more interesting. If for some reason, there's 2 floors you go up and down.
Yeah.
If top floor was gear fighting, bottom floor was hand fighting, and you had to move between stuff like that.
That would have been awesome.
Because it would have given you a reason to fight more as a character in the, you fight a majority, I would say, between 65 and 70% of this game on foot, right?
Yeah.
And to just throw that away on the final dungeon seems bad.
Especially in the first, Disc 1 is mostly, or not mostly, but there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat on Disc 1, not so much in Disc 2, with the exception of maybe the Sufal mass battle and a couple of other sections.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice if we would have been able to do that. That would have been awesome if it was just navigate these elevators and go north. And once you get north, you're there. But that's not what happens. How long did it take you to get through this?
Hour, maybe? I was running from every battle.
Yeah, I eventually started running from battles as well. For a moment, I was hoping to level up a little bit, but it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Eventually, you fumble through it, and you get to the solution, and you get to the giant
shaft.
Gate tunnel shaft that you have to jump down.
And once again, our gear falls between 2 holograms of 2 one-winged angels.
Indeed. It's the same thing that we saw, on our last visit to Merkava. The one-winged angels are here yet again. I wonder if this was originally going to be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, you know what? That's fucking cool. And we also need to reiterate this imagery so that we can emphasize our themes yet once again to the player.
It's a cost-cutting measure, but it's a good one. It makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is definitely especially if this is your first time through the game, I think it's really important to reiterate the themes of the one-winged angels because there's going to be a lot of discussions about that stuff here in the as we move towards the end of the game.
So speaking of your first time through the game, at the bottom of this, there's actually an exit shaft that Chris missed the first time he played this before Opiumorph.
I will not miss Johnny this time.
This time there's a Johnny bot, and he offers to repair your stuff, sell you some stuff, and also you can leave through here. As a consequence, you have to go through all this shit over again.
Yes.
But if you do leave, as we said, you get El Regers, the battle arena, level 2 battle arena stuff.
Yeah.
And you could possibly, if you've made some very bad mistakes, you can use this final save point to go back and remix your squad.
Is that what you had to do?
We'll get to that.
Okay. At this point in time, I wasn't 100% sure on whether or not there was going to be more parts here. But also, I was not 100% sure if I was going to get another opportunity to change my party. So I was like, okay, well, this looks like the end of the game. I'm going to bring in the heavy hitters. So I switched my party via the blue save point to Faye, Billy, and Emeralda. Because Billy and Emeralda, in my case, both had the Big Joe gear. They shall be my cavalry, which slays God for me.
Shit.
When you go through the doors that kind of slide open and there's a bunch of segmented doors that open up, it's a nice signifier that you are marching towards the final battle here. Yeah. And that was the moment where I was like, oh, wow.
This is it.
This is it. I've been playing Xenogears for 8 months and doing a podcast about it for just as long. And
it will last over a year.
And now it's all kind of coming to an end. And it was a little bit of a, I mean, you always have those moments at the end of RPGs that you love where you sort of reflect back and you're like, okay, let's do this. Let's finalize this. But this moment was especially surreal for me, coming to the conclusion that we're about to fucking finish this podcast.
Kill God.
So let's go do it. Let's kill God.
So once you progress, you go to, there's only one kind of interesting room you go through. It has a human-sized ladder and it's filled with green tubes, and it has a blue windowed room up top that was like an observation area. So I pictured this as just another part of the Eldridge. So you approach that big glow stick pool, the LCL, and then I noticed a mysterious like artifact on the bottom right-hand side of my screen that I was like, is that the collapsed like Ellie body or the Ramses pile or Crowley, like whatever was there? And you know what it was?
What's that?
It was the fucking compass.
God damn it.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. Because you know how it like, once it gets horizontal, it'll kind of mash together.
Yeah, it'll kind of flatten a little bit.
Yeah, it'll flatten. And I was looking at that, not understanding what I was seeing.
I did notice it flattened once or twice, but I did not mistake it for that. So
you jump in.
You jump in.
Do you remember last time they jumped down here and we never saw what happened?
He just disappeared. Yeah, they said that it kind of shat him out eventually.
Eventually he showed back up basically when the party was looking for him. Now we're actually going to get to go down here and see what Faye perhaps saw originally. I guess he has no memory of this because he makes no comment about like his previous experience down in the depths
it's
of
the one thing you can't remember.
Merkava. Yeah, the one.
You know what's down here, Chris?
The final battle?
Bass.
Like
it is a deep fuzzing phasing noise down here. It is ripping apart my basement.
Yes. It's ripping apart both space, time, and Eric's basement.
Yeah, it's also kind of an acid trip. It's a bunch of purple and red fuzzing. It looks like a Nights into Dreams boss down here. What do you see?
4 orbs. They seem to be chained to a giant...
Chained by energy.
By energy, yes.
Like just organic material.
Yeah. It's kind of gross looking, but it tips you off that you're here.
Yeah, it also tips you off that there may be multiple battles here.
Yeah.
Because there's multiple existences, which Choo Choo Maria note the power of the 4 orbs that are spinning around the center.
Yeah. Faye says, this is Deus. And then it was at that point that
Thanks, Faye.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Good job. At this point, you notice that the sprites for everyone is here. All your characters are here.
Everyone's here.
Yeah, they're all spread out. They're all looking at this giant meat wad that's surrounded by these floating orbs emanating... I wrote down electricity, but it's probably ether or spirit energy or something of that nature. And this is another one of those nice moments where everybody's got to say something, and
everybody's got their line.
They're trying to sort of figure out about what to do about these orbs, and I love Bart's plan.
Bart, after Choo Choo Maria, note there's the 4. What does Bart say?
Bart says that we should crush the core and ignore the orbs.
Fuck yeah.
And he's got reason for this. Like, Citan comments, that's probably a good idea to conserve fuel, but...
But he advises against it.
Yeah, he says that he thinks that we could go all out on the cores on the outside to weaken the central portion of it. Like, we'll come to find out that each time we defeat one of these orbs, it seals a power, and it's sort of the infancy of...
It seals one of Deus's powers.
Yeah, one of Deus's powers, yes, one of his attacks. And it's sort of the infancy of that Xenoblade combat, at least Xenoblade 2 combat, where once you do a certain amount of damage and destroy an orb on an enemy, it seals one of their abilities. And
oh yeah, good point.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's congruency here, or if Takahashi, that's an idea that he had but couldn't implement it until the final boss here, which I just thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah,
Citan suggests that we let Faye rest so that he can be at full power later.
Yeah, yeah. Did you do that?
Yes, I did not use Xenogears at all on the orbs.
I didn't know you could take Faye. Yeah, and there is a blue save cube in the bottom, but there's no save point.
Right. So you're all in here.
Yeah. And I'm all in with my one party, and I was like, I don't need any of you guys.
So
I jumped in.
You jumped straight into Deus?
No.
Oh, you jumped into
decided,
the orbs.
in retrospect, I should have done that. But no, I went, and you can't really, I guess the orbs look the same, right? Like you just, whatever one you run into is the one you end up fighting. Like you can't try to do this.
And according to the FAQ on GameFAQs by Shakanova, there is a certain order that they start in.
Oh,
but the only way to know what's what is if you already know the order, the predisposed order. So there's no strategy here. It's just jump into it.
Yeah.
Would be nice, but can't do that.
The first one I fought, I didn't write down which one it was, but it is the one that I thought was invisible because it was on the fucking floor.
Yeah. Okay. So I fought that one last.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's Marlute, but I didn't label it properly because I just wrote this last fuckface is a fuel stealer.
Yes.
And
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
In your particular situation, I can imagine that you really thought this thing was a fuckface. Can you describe what this thing looks like?
It's just like a glyph that's just on the floor. It's like a yellow golden glyph on the floor. It has floor properties too, like when you're battling a Croaker tribe in your gear where you cannot do deathblow combos to it.
Yes, it's like battling a sprite, basically. And yeah, I wrote it down as a golden colored scorpion carpet, which
Scorpion carpet's pretty good.
I like glyph though as well. This thing holds Deus's Divine Storm ability, which is Deus's ability to steal 50 fuel from a gear. And once you defeat this thing, then Deus loses that ability, which is,
yeah.
I mean, it would be nice if you could have just ignored this one because you wouldn't have needed to, because this thing actually steals more fuel than Deus actually will. This thing will rip your shit.
Mm-hmm. They all go down fairly quickly though. Like they have what, like 20,000, 30,000 HP?
Yeah, and it's also important to note that every time you beat one of these, it reduces Deus's overall HP.
Yes,
so
drastically.
If you defeat all 4 of them, I think Deus will have 40,000 HP, whereas if you leave them all standing, I think he's got roughly 75,000.
So that was actually the second one that I fought. I fought Metatron last. I fought Sundel first.
Yeah, Sundel...
seals the healing ability.
Yeah, Sundel is this like purple crystal-like object with 2 small purple orbs that are kind of revolving around it.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it holds
heavenly instruments.
The Deus healing. According to the Xenogears wiki, it takes its name from the angel Sandalphon. Sandalphon figures prominently in the mystical literary traditions of Rabbinic Judaism and early Christianity, notably in the Midrash, Talmud, and Kabbalah. This is also the same name of the angel in Evangelion that manifests in the volcano as an embryo.
Yeah, Magma Diver.
Yeah, that episode, that's the same, that angel has the exact same name. I wrote down that it looks like a dancing pink prism.
Yeah.
Which kind of helps here. This is the third one that I fought. And so at this point in time, like my overall strategy here was to use my strong characters and beat ass as much as possible.
Yeah, that was mine.
And then switch in my more fuel endurance characters to kind of finish things off.
Mm-hmm.
But I really needed Emeralda here. I really needed Emeralda to come back and be prepared for the final battle because I wanted Emeralda to be my heavy hitter. So in this battle, I brought both Emeralda and Choo Choo, and I used Choo Choo just to heal Emeralda while Emeralda charged and tried to get all of her fuel back while Billy did all the work. So
that's a smart setup.
Yeah, it was a nice time. And guess what? It worked.
Cool.
How about you, Eric? Anything good? Anything else good about this one?
No. I eventually started getting too pissed off to take explicit notes on the orbs.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
That's not your fault. It's mine.
Yeah, but as you said, you beat this thing and it seals Deus's healing power, which is probably a good thing to get rid of.
Uh-huh.
Harlute has some sort of space-time manipulation stuff, and it looks like this tiny bug inside of a floating pillar of water energy or something like that. And this thing will limit you to one character at a time.
Yeah, it kind of isolates one.
Yeah.
Like if it attacks, does it counterattack big time or does it just take one out?
No, it'll lock you in to just one character. I
Okay.
don't think it has a counterattack. I have some etymology here, some more etymology. I
For
wanted
Harlute?
This is both for Harlute and the fuel stealing fuckface Marlute. These are references to the angels Harut and Marut. They are 2 angels mentioned in the Quran who were present during the reign of Solomon and were located at Babylon. The Quran indicates that they were a trial for the people, and through them, the people were tested with sorcery, which apt.
Yep. And if you beat that one, it seals the heaven anointment technique.
Yes, that's a high ether damage thing. So this thing does have a few pretty strong nukes that'll get you pretty good. But at this point in time, I had Emeralda fully healed up and everything, and she was able to just beat the shit. Like I was doing the most damage. Crescent's was more powerful than Xenogears outside of Infinity Mode for most of this because I brought that good Big Joe stuff.
Can we sidestep this and reference briefly how you use the word nuke as substitute for magic?
Yeah.
And how this confused me greatly until recently. I was like, because when you talked about using Ellie's nukes back in previous episodes, and I was like, Nukes? I don't see any nuclear bombs. What's Chris talking? I didn't know that was like nomenclature.
Oh, yeah.
For those kind of attacks.
Strong magic attacks.
Yeah, strong magic attack.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Maybe because you never played Diablo.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So finally, we have the last one, Metatron, aka Alan Rickman.
I always thought that Metatron was the voice of God because of Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
But
humans can't hear God's voice.
Yeah, the actual influence probably comes from the Book of Enoch, which if you talk to anybody who's studied this game in depth, it becomes very possible and maybe even likely that Takahashi and Tanaka had both read the Book of Enoch. But in Jewish Apocrypha and early Kabbalah, Metatron is a name that Enoch received after his transformation into an angel. This thing is like a gray pendulum kind of thing. This thing certainly does look like an Evangelion angel, by the way. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Where it's non-humanoid, it's thin, imposing, looks like an insect.
Otherworldly and threatening.
Yeah, very threatening. I had Maria with me, and Maria powerbombing this thing via her death blows is amazing.
Yeah.
I love you, Maria. I want you to be my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Can I adopt you, Maria? Your father's dead, after all. So,
damn.
He also has this like pulsating attack that attacks like 5 times in a row, a bunch of times. Metatron does, and I got incredibly lucky here as well because I had Billy and Citan with me, and they both hit Infinity mode in one opportunity and just did some sick combos and just defeated this thing and sealed Deus's earthly anointing.
I lost to Metatron. Do you know why I lost to Metatron?
Because you suck at this game.
Yeah.
Okay.
My plan was to go in with those 100 output, 1,000 fuel gears.
The Big Joe stuff.
The Big Joe stuff on all 3 gears. No backup plan. I'll fight them all. And then I started running into an issue where I ran so low on fuel that I couldn't use my frame repair.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't have enough fuel or enough frame to like properly repair, but it was impossible for me to heal anything. And I was fucked.
I can imagine that being an issue because I basically used a rotation of 5 or 6 characters here, and I ran into that problem as well. My
solution was either to go out and grind forever. At the time I was going to get golden vests and golden hoods.
Yeah.
Just do that for, 5 hours until I could afford to fix this because I'd blown my entire fortune on this dumbass setup.
Yeah.
What did I do instead, Chris?
Reverted to an older state.
I time traveled to 1999.
Oh, wow. You went back.
Loaded my old save.
Your original save
on my original memory card.
Eric, was that emotional?
Yes. I revisited my previous memory. I was like, I made some good choices. The best choice I made, and I've referenced it before, is I bought a bunch of ether drives from Big Joe back in the day. And I made my Choo-Choo have the ability to use her heal spell.
Is it the Force Dance?
Whatever it is, it heals gears.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to use chargers or any of that, or frame HP heals. Your Choo-Choo can just cure everybody if you have enough ethers. Yeah, I used Choo-Choo during one of these battles for that exact purpose, although I did not have Choo-Choo properly spec'd to be able to do it really effectively. It was doing like 20,000 heal or 10,000 heal.
Yeah, mine didn't do nearly that much, but it was still enough to kind of just give me a little bit of a boost to get me through some of these battles. 16-year-old me had ground out everything, GNRs on everybody. Like I beat the shit out of Deus the second time with the power of my previous self. I reached into my own past, to my past contact. You reached into the past to seek the power. Yeah. Acquired the power and killed God. Congratulations. Or at least you killed God's sort of cavalry here. Yeah, it made me wonder what gift I'm making now for my 60-year-old self. So, yeah, exactly. It's this podcast, Eric. Congratulations, you have $35. Good job, everybody.
Hey, Benito. I've been reading the Bible lately, and nobody ever told me how many talking dogs and wizard battles were in this thing.
Well, Chris, you know what I always say. If you can understand Star Wars, you can understand the Bible.
Apocrypals, part of the Greenlit Podcast Network.
The award-winning Go Nintendo podcast covers the latest Nintendo news while also diving into what's hot in pop culture, music trivia, hands-on impressions, and so much more. Hopefully we can make you laugh, too. You'll find new episodes of the Go Nintendo podcast on the Greenlit Podcast Network every single week.
So then it's time for the final battle. Who'd you roll with?
On phase 2, Citan, Faye, and Choo-Choo.
Congrats. I was in a little bit of a pickle here, and I was sort of afraid that I was going to be in a situation where I was going to have to, back up to the world map and do a little grinding, or at least get Bart ready to go. But I am going to go with a 100% fully unused Xenogears, fully functional Xenogears.
Fresh.
Yes, fresh ass Xenogears. a Fenrir with absolutely no fuel. I took the Z Charger off Billy and put it on Fenrir because he was one that had the higher fuel capacity. So I figured I could get him charged up and have enough to go on. And thanks to Choo Choo, my Cressons was in pretty good shape here. Cressons has low fuel.
Choo Choo died for your sins.
Choo Choo literally died for my sins here. So thank you, Choo Choo. I will always appreciate you. You're the best.
Appreciate you. So Chris, what is the best part in any JRPG of fighting the final boss? What do you get every time?
Every time in any good JRPG, you get the final boss music, right?
Yes. Which in our case is Awakening.
It is.
It's a wonderful track.
And it's been a long time since we got a new track in Xenogears, so appreciate it, please. So let's go. This is reality, Eric. It's time to kill God. It's time to face God.
Yeah, when you saw Deus, what did you see? What did you expect to see?
I don't know if I had any expectations this time around. I think originally I expected to see the turtle thing again.
I expected to see, in my head, Deus was Ozma from Final Fantasy IX, which was also a glowing sphere of a planet.
Oh, yeah.
Like the surrounding orbs.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that. That was a false memory.
Yeah, you thought you were going to see the real God and not the demiurge here.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing the demiurge here. And when I see it this time, I'm seeing the second form of Lavos.
Yeah.
It really does evoke that in a major way.
He's very spindly, very mantis-like, and the physical size here is very impressive.
Yes, it's huge. It's this thin, ominous looking, almost like an angel of sorts.
Yeah.
It's got these huge, organic looking back wings, and they're all sort of accented with these thin lines of red, and there's eyeballs in various places, like at the joints and throughout the wings and stuff like that.
It is very upsetting.
It's also holding two small angels, one with light-colored wings and the other with dark-colored wings. Mm-hmm. That's weird.
It's Psychomantis' puppets.
Yeah, and if you look at the artwork for Deus in the Perfect Works, these angel-type things are even more pronounced. They're especially human-like, but...
Is there a balance? Is it like an angel and devil thing?
It looks like it, yeah, because I think that's the point here, is that there's the angel and the devil. It's not the male and female. I thought maybe that's what we were going to see, but it's more... It looks like two genderless humanoid figures, one of an angel, one of a demon. Its body is mostly white with thin red lines that run through its appendages, eyeballs protruding from its thighs, and angular wings and shoulders with eyeballs just kind of coming out of various places, but it's all very symmetrical.
Eyeballs are kind of a big thing in final boss things around this time.
Yeah, eyeballs always signify something.
Eyeballs were in the eyeball basket, too, before we got here.
Yeah, this thing kind of was just a basket of eyeballs prior to its true form.
Very different from the decaying turtle with fossil wings.
Yeah. So this thing has a lot of attacks. I have a list of them here. Would you like to hear them?
Let's go.
It has a physical counter attack, which does roughly 600 damage. It also has a physical attack. It has Cosmic Crusher, which does roughly 7,000 ether damage to one gear. It has the Healing Restore ability, which restores 4,000 HP, but that is sealed if you have defeated the appropriate orb. It has Fuel Drain, which takes between 330 and 350 fuel away. That is also sealed. It has a Beam Attack, 5,000 damage. Explosion Attack, 4,000 ether damage. Ultimate Break.
Yup.
It has Earthly Anointment, which is a 5,000 ether attack damage to all, which fucking is strong. That will be sealed. Heavenly Anointment will also be sealed if you have defeated the angel. That inflicts power loss to a single target. Also does a Sparkly Attack, which it can invoke Pilot Confusion, which happened to me once actually. And also, in my case, it opened up with the Deus Thunderbolt Angel attack, which did a lot of damage right at the outset of the battle. It got things going.
As this party started?
Yes. As noted before, its HP is already lowered because we've defeated the 4 orbs, down to roughly 40k. According to the FAQ, if you did not defeat the mini-bosses, Deus will open the battle by using all of the orb attacks.
Oh, God.
Which would be fucking...
Yeah.
Like, that would send you to hell.
That is a gauntlet.
Yeah. And...
Bart was wrong.
Yeah, Bart was definitely wrong. He won't send his angel attacks out until he has roughly 40,000 HP left, but that is kind of where it starts at in our case, because we've defeated the orbs. And for me, it did those angel attacks quite frequently, and both as regular attacks and as counter attacks. Whenever you physically attack this motherfucker, his right-handed angel will fire an explosion at 2 random targets, which makes this battle a lot harder than it would be if it had no counterattacks. Like, it definitely uses those counterattacks to make up for the fact it's 3v1.
He's pretty formidable for a last boss.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the stuff that you hopefully want to build up for and not go in with some dumbass harebrained scheme.
You always want your final boss to be epic, but you also want the player to figure out how to beat it on the first run, I think. Because beating on the first run, at least for me...
Like, you should have mastered the game at this point.
Yeah, it makes that moment feel very special, but you also don't want to feel overpowered like you didn't earn it.
So did you have any trouble with this?
A little bit, because...
What was your strat? What kind of...
Well, part of my problem was that Citan started with no fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So I
he had a Z charger though, right?
Yeah, I put a Z charger on him and got him boosted up a little bit so that he could start getting some attacks in. I also had Emeralda just going all out as quickly as possible. Important to note here, when Xenogears gets to hyper mode, first of all, it always has a 99% chance of reaching hyper mode.
The perks of being a Xenogear.
Yes, indeed. And did you notice the changes to Xenogears once you reach infinity mode?
Doesn't the light just shoot out the back of it?
Yeah, that like steam light, those steamy light beams kind of, its angel wings, for lack of a better term, kind of spray out of its back panels or whatever you want to call them to indicate the hyper mode has been initialized. So I basically got 3 Kishins in there, which is one of Faye's hyper mode combos, and
That's all she wrote.
Sick combos.
Did you have any GNRs on Faye at this point?
No, I didn't. He wasn't doing max damage, but with having Emeralda out there, Big Joe branded gear to beat the ass of God, I was in good shape.
I just did level 1 comp. I didn't even go for infinity mode on anybody.
You didn't?
With the gears that I had to set up whatever it was I made 21 years ago, I was doing like 4 or 5 per hit, so it just...
So you're
I may have drived. I don't know. That doesn't really affect gear. I don't know what I did, but it was tremendous.
Wow. You were able to re-experience the moment of overcoming God as a 16-year-old rather than as a fully grown adult.
Like, it's not cheating. If it, 1, I've done it before, and 2, it was still me.
Yeah, it was still you, man. Cool.
It did probably cheapen the experience of the characters I've spent time building, but
So, once you defeat this thing, it sort of...
It dies for a long time.
It dies for a long time. Amazing explosion sounds.
Xenogears to stand in front of it and triumphant.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You get a couple of nice close-up shots of Deus as it's blowing up, and you can kind of see at that point in time, its skull, for lack of a better term, it kind of like covers its eyes, and there's kind of like a human-like mouth there to signify like
that's scary
image of God kind of thing. Yeah, you're right. It's pretty scary looking. If
whenever your monster is revealed to be slightly human, even though it's backwards.
Yeah, exactly. For a moment, I was thinking that maybe this was it was turning into a new form that I forgot about, but actually
the classic phase 2.
Yeah, there is no classic phase 2. This is phase 2. Phase 1 was that turtle fucking thing that we fought.
Yeah, just separated out by a third of the game. Faye is the first person to speak after the battle when everything goes dark. Faye asks what happened.
Yes.
Who speaks next for you?
I have Rico.
Yes, Rico speaks next.
Rico says his gear won't move.
Yes. Citan attributes this to the Zohar modifier no longer functioning.
Yes. I guess at this point in time, it's when the slave generators stop working because the Zohar modifier has been destroyed and all the gears aren't working. And
Faye has a great response. Who gives a shit? Where's Ellie?
He's very concerned that we've hurt Ellie during this process. Did you also notice at this time that like all the gears are still, but Faye's Xenogears sprite is kind of vibrating a little bit?
It's moving.
Yeah, which is foreshadowing for 5 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Citan says that the sensors are picking up a response within Deus, which
Faye thinks that she should be free.
Yeah.
Like, now that all this is done, she should be free. Or he also speculates they may have accidentally fucked her up.
He calls out to her.
Well, he actually physically moves up in his gear. Like, he's screaming in its ears.
The after effects of the destruction of Deus is this purple energy mushroom cloud looking thing. It's like a giant pulsating glob of purple ether clay, for lack of a better term. And it starts to pulsate and grow, right?
There's some desperation coming out of Faye here. He's screaming, telling her that Deus is no longer active, like he has to tell her that. And then he says, come out there and show me your face, which is kind of irrational at this point, but he is desperate to see his plan work.
Yeah.
And he's starting to freak out.
Yeah.
But as that buzzing starts that you were talking about, Bart wonders what is happening. And Citan detects a tremendous amount of energy coming from within Deus. He suspects that something that was sealed up is now freed, and it's releasing all of this energy. Faye suspects it's what?
He suspects it's the wave existence, and he's the only one that knows about the wave existence, at least from the party's perspective, right?
I can imagine Faye coming out trying to talk about all this shit, and they're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, especially the way he phrases it. He says, the wave existence was just freed from its cage of fleshly existence in Zohar, which is the literal expression that the wave existence used when he was talking to Faye during that scene.
I just pictured like all of us at a restaurant and you coming back from the bathroom, sitting down and just saying that. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, my burrito has broken from its
itself.
cage of fleshly existence.
It's in the 4th dimension now. So Citan chimes back in and he concludes this is the after effect of the dimensional shift. This is a shock wave induced by the dimensional displacement.
Yes.
Which I think is the same thing Faye said. Just more scientific.
I think the intershifting dimensionality or whatever seems to evoke a lot of the technobabble that we first heard in the anime intro way back in episode 1.
Yeah.
Stuff like Ergo area increasing. Internal plane is forming, switching to space displacement mode.
Omega 1 restructuring.
Yeah. All that stuff seems to be coming into play here, maybe.
So they had a containment system that could deal with all of these anomalies.
Yes, and now we don't. Also, Rico has no idea what's going on. He chimes in and it's like, blah.
After Citan says that displacement thing, he says something much more concerning.
Yeah?
He suspects that if this much energy is released here and now, the planet will be annihilated.
That's not good. I was going to say Citan, but I should say
You can
Eric.
call me Citan.
Hey.
I have note that Choo Choo, Billy, and Bart are very disappointed by this news.
Yeah, Choo-Choo says, what you mean? And Citan, he lays it out straight here.
Yeah, what's he say?
Gears, they're not going to fucking work. We can't do shit.
He says this is the end for us.
We're all going to fucking die, Choo-Choo.
Bart thinks this is, quote, freaking stupid.
Yes.
And asks how this could be the end.
Imagine if you're trying to communicate to your friends that the world
God
is
is
about
real.
to end. Yeah, well, that God is real and the world is about to end. And when you first turn to your friends to grab them by their collar and shake them,
Yeah.
you turn, but it's Choo-Choo.
Yeah.
And
I've
Choo-Choo-
grabbed the wrong friend.
And Choo-Choo looks back and says, what you mean? And then at that point in time, Choo-Choo has served her purpose in creating some additional levity. The levity that we need for Faye to come to a conclusion here.
Like, Deus starts blasting and flashing. Rico notes something different, and then Deus is rising and may soon leave the atmosphere.
The vibrations on the screen begin to intensify.
Induce epilepsy?
Yes, lightning crashes coming down again, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
Faye has an idea about what's happening.
Well-
why Deus is leaving.
Rico knows that it's something that he just has this intuition that
Yes.
something else is causing these vibrations.
It's not...
He's either demonstrating this unique level of intuition or
He's demonstrating it's his turn to talk.
I think you're right. I was trying to give Rico a little bit of credit.
Nah, we're not
in
doing that in
saying
this
that
podcast.
either he was trying to insert a little bit of hope into the conversation. But yes, you're right. Suddenly the mushroom cloud thing begins floating towards space.
Faye speculates that this is Ellie, who is moving Deus, and what is she doing?
What does Ellie always do?
She's sacrificing herself.
Yes. She is sacrificing herself for the good of
To
others,
save us and save the planet.
as she is fated to do.
Planet's dying, Cloud.
Yes.
So then we get a different song. What song plays?
But Flight plays.
Yes.
And this signifies that Faye has a fucking idea.
Yes.
He realized that his Xenogears sprite is still vibrating.
He can still, he's like, mine still works. I got gas.
My shit still works.
My
And
shit still works.
My shit still works.
I made contact with the Zohar, with God, etc. Therefore, my robot still works.
That does give credence, like when your friend is off ranting about making contact with God. It'd be the same thing as if he started levitating there, like, oh shit,
Yeah.
because his gear still works. Like, oh my god, he's telling the truth.
Faye actually fucking means it.
When Citan learns of Faye's plan, he's like, that's absurd. Even if you could do that, you wouldn't have enough energy to make it back.
Yeah.
And Faye concludes that he has to go anyway. He can't let Ellie take the burden alone, which has any previous iteration of Faye been able to interfere with the Ellie suicide pact?
No, that's been the point of the cycle, right?
Like, and he has the power to do that, which
yeah.
he knows now.
Yeah.
Because his shit still works.
Is Ellie moving down the path of sacrifice because she knows Faye now has the ability to save her, or is she doing that because she's predisposed to do so?
That's a good chicken and egg question.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an answer to it, just like that question.
Yeah.
Well, there probably is an answer to that question now, because we're in the future.
I think the answer is probably she knows.
Yeah, she has to play her part.
The idea of the contact in the antitype, breaking the cycle of the Deus system, it requires the anima and the animus. It requires both angels to help each other here. So that is literally what is happening here. Like, that metaphor is beginning to play out from this moment. Bart is not going to let Faye commit double suicide here.
Yes. I also wrote double suicide. Did he say double suicide?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I think he actually did say double suicide, because my next note is what's worse than regular suicide? Double suicide? Maybe
Yeah.
Bartman kill himself and Ellie.
Yeah, I think so.
To do this, he makes Faye promise that he'll come back before he'll let him go.
Faye probably gives Bart a bro look here and says, like, yeah, I'll come back.
Yeah.
I got you, man.
I mean, I was thinking more like the end of Point Break. Have you seen Point Break?
not in many years, but yes.
Well, it ends with Patrick Swayze going off to surf the biggest wave to commit suicide
Oh, yeah. Fuck.
rather than be arrested.
This is really interesting, too, this next part. Bart has to be the one to convince Citan
Yeah.
that they should let Faye go. Because
Citan objects.
Yeah, he's objecting a little bit here. But Bart, like, this is the part in time, this is like the science versus guts thing,
Yeah.
you know? Like, in the guts are going to have to win out here.
Yeah, the guts beat the brains for once.
Yeah, for once.
Punches his nerd head in.
Everyone gives Faye their words of encouragement here.
Yes.
Faye tells Xenogears, he's speaking to the gear like, giant robot pilots do.
Yeah. It's like I talk to my car.
Yeah, exactly. And
One more ride.
I mean, that's pretty much what he says. He says, this is the last journey they will make together. And then he calls Xenogears his partner, even though he's only had him for like a week. But I mean, I guess
I'm sure the control stick's still the same.
in a way, yeah, it's the Veltal. So it is his partner. It is already served its purpose as being the Slayer of God. Now it is going to go beyond the Call of Duty here.
Do you think when he got Xenogears that like the tears and the leather seats and the piles of chewed up hop jerky in the corner like vanished and renewed?
That's a good question.
His filthy cockpit.
Yeah, he's still got like empty McDonald's cups from 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, just like stacked in the cup holder.
Yeah, he's got a Mountain Dew bottle full of dip spit.
Yeah. Since we live in Kentucky, we've found multiple of those on the side of the road and picked it up and it pours out on your shoes.
In some case, family members. So, Xenogears then becomes a 3D model because all this time it was a sprite, and it's a 3D model now, and it spreads its wings and shoots the angel steam wings out of its back and flies to the sky.
Going to space.
Going to space.
Going to the moon.
Just like we wanted to from the beginning of this game. We want to go to space. So this game started with a spaceship, now we're going to space. Let's go.
I wonder if that website that catalogs time to sewers for all video games.
Yeah.
There is time to space for JRPG.
Not every game would quite get there, but many of them
A lot of them would.
Final
You always gotta
Fantasy
go
IV,
space.
this one, that's
7.
7. Shit, you're right. As the Xenogears approaches Deus, a purple wormhole opens up, and Xenogears gets sucked in.
Yeah, it makes a weird noise when it does that.
Yeah,
it goes into the dimensional portal. I did appreciate how Flay was flying toward a blue sky, though. That symbolized hope to me, like clear possibilities.
This was definitely a scene that was framed in a way to amp up the viewer a little bit, especially because they put Flight here. Like, I mean, the last time we heard Flight, it was because Big Joe was going to sell us some shit.
Yeah.
But it didn't lose any meaning because it still worked in a really neat way right here to get Faye to where he needs to go. And where he needs to go is to resolve everything in the next episode of Retrograde Amnesia, a comprehensive podcast about Xenogears. Hey, Eric, let's consult the RealNet. The RealNet is a collective, a group of people, of patrons who hang out in our Discord and listen to us record live. We appreciate you always. And you always give us good feedback and comments, and we are going to read them now.
Initializing RealNet.
Quicksacular says, this is weird for you to be at the end. It is weird. I agree with that. It does feel weird, but I am leaving tonight with some happiness and hope because we get to record one more Xenogears podcast.
Yeah, right?
Like, it's not over yet, so we're just going to keep doing a podcast about the epilogue.
We also have more bonus pods and Perfect Works.
Yeah, it's not the same, though. You know what I mean?
You're right,
like,
yeah.
This one is
This one follows linear time.
Yeah, this is the meat of the show. Quicksacular says, oh, that's why I could always reach Hyper Ammo with Xenogears, because it's guaranteed. Jeez. Yeah,
if you don't put that together, if everyone else just is, sometimes you can just think you're getting very lucky.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I was about 3 seconds away from not noticing the 99% on Xenogears as well. I may have missed that as well. Cliff Racer says every cool mecha has heat wings.
Yeah,
totally agree. Alter Impulse also loves how Citan is suddenly more concerned than Bart, to the point that he'd try to stop Faye out of sheer will, even if his gear is down.
That's how you know Citan's worried.
Yeah, that's true. Solari says, will there be small 2 of Pieces karaoke? No.
Ooh.
We won't do that. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for the outtakes. This episode is a production of Retrograde Amnesia. Thank you, Eric, for all of your hard work editing the podcast. Thank you, Mark, for the intro track. If you like the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/retroam. Get early access, bonus episodes, miniseries, and more. Find us on Twitter at RetroAmnesiaPod. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps people discover the show. If you have any questions or feedback, please email the show at retrogradeamnesiapodcast@gmail.com. Shout out to the RealNet for joining us tonight. Until next time,
we've killed God.
And now we have to talk about what happens when we get naked after we kill God.
Yeah.
And now we go back to sleep. Yes. Okay, I do have an opinion about Deus. We're heading there. Is this the last episode of this podcast?
Possibility. I think it is. You seem to think we could get an epilogue episode out.
No. And now, for the last time, say it again.
And now for the last time, say it again.
Eric, this is my best intro, okay? Don't step on it.
Is it the Phase Kim line from 20 years ago? Because,
No.
Okay.
We can make that the outro if you have it.
I don't have it. I looked for it. It's tight.
Yeah.
You would have to research in the back history of a Google Doc if we haven't edited in 5 years.
Yeah. Welcome to...
Wow, 2 words in. Good job. Foreboding.
the names were probably
Etymologized.
The names are probably
We found the third word. The third seal has been broken.
The names are probably etymologically.
Yeah, sure. Etymologically.
The third names are probably related to if you defeated the orb, and heavenly anointment will also be anointment. Now that I'm thinking about it, about the face base is restarting or whatever. Remember that?
Space restarting.
I mean, that was a little bit of ad lib there.
Omega 1 restructuring.
Yeah. All that stuff seems to be coming into play here. Maybe. Man, he like after you, somebody gives you a sick behind the back pass for an open look, and then you point back to him when you're running down the court. That's what Faye is doing here. I was almost too deep into that sip
before I
spit it on the computer. I don't really like ginger ale, but
no, it's not good.
But it's working well for the podcast.
I recommend Ale 8.
Yeah, you can look at your goddamn phone, you fucking idiot.
Can I have your Wi-Fi password?
Yes. I can't play Dare to Be Stupid for the kids though, because we've taught them that stupid is a bad word.
Oh, okay.
Because they're not old enough to know how to wield that word properly. So.
You see, it has too many bad ideas in the song also.
Well, yeah, stick your hand
in the electrical shock.
I've actually sung part of that to them to like make them laugh, and I mean they can.
Dad, who's Mr. Whipple?
You better squeeze all the Charmin you can when Mr. Whipple's not in town. That line has new meaning nowadays and during a global pandemic, by the way, because you better squeeze all the Charmin you can.
Yeah, because
it's not going to be there.
You'll have to fight your fellow shoppers.
You have to fight your grandma. I made contact with the Zohar, with God, etc. Therefore, my robots still work. Oh God.